Today we use its name to mean the middle of nowhere. But 500 years ago, Timbuktu was one of the richest cities on earth, a place where books were worth more than gold. Think of the phrase, "from here to Timbuktu." We use it to mean somewhere impossibly far away. The end of the earth, the middle of nowhere. But that phrase hides one of the greatest ironies in all of history, because Timbuktu was not nowhere. For centuries, it was one of the richest, most dazzling, most learned cities on the entire planet, a place that drew scholars and merchants from across the world, and where a single book could be worth more than gold. This is the true story of Timbuktu. It began humbly around the year 1100, a seasonal camp set up by Tuareg nomads on the southern edge of the Sahara Desert, just north of the Niger River. It was a perfect location, the meeting point of two worlds. From the north came the great camel caravans of the Sahara, carrying one of the most precious commodities of the age: salt. Slabs of salt so valuable they were sometimes traded for their weight in gold. And from the south came the riches of West Africa: gold, ivory, and goods flowing up the Niger River. Timbuktu sat exactly where the desert met the river, where salt met gold. And it grew rich, astonishingly rich. In the early 1300s, Timbuktu became part of the mighty Mali Empire and came under the rule of its most famous emperor, Mansa Musa, a man so wealthy that historians often call him the richest person who ever lived. In 1324, Mansa Musa made a legendary pilgrimage to Mecca, traveling with a caravan so laden with gold that as he passed through Egypt, he gave away so much of it that he reportedly disrupted the value of gold in the region for years. And when he returned, he transformed Timbuktu. He brought back architects and scholars. He commissioned the building of the great Jingareber Mosque, its walls of mud brick studded with wooden beams, a structure that still stands to this day. But Mansa Musa's greatest legacy was not built of gold or brick. It was built of knowledge. Around the Sankore Mosque, a great center of learning took shape, what we now often call Sankore University. And Timbuktu became something extraordinary, a magnet for the brightest minds in the world. At its height, the city may have been home to as many as 25,000 students. They came from across Africa and the Middle East to study not only the Quran, but astronomy, mathematics, medicine, law, philosophy, and history. And at the heart of it all were the books. Timbuktu became one of the greatest centers of book production and trade anywhere on earth. Scholars copied manuscripts by hand. Merchants bought and sold them. Owning a great library became the ultimate symbol of wealth and status, more prestigious than gold. In fact, one old chronicle records that a king once paid the equivalent of 2 horses for a single dictionary. There is a West African proverb that captures the city perfectly. It says, "Salt comes from the north, gold from the south, but the word of God and the treasures of wisdom are only to be found in Timbuktu." The greatest of its scholars became legendary, men like Ahmad Baba, who wrote dozens of books and whose personal library, alone, held more than 1,000 volumes. For 300 years, Timbuktu blazed as a beacon of learning, faith, and wealth, proof that medieval Africa was home to one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the world. But it could not last forever. In 1591, an army from Morocco, armed with gunpowder weapons, crossed the Sahara and invaded. The city fell. The scholars were scattered. Many were arrested, some killed. The great Ahmad Baba himself was deported in chains to Morocco. And slowly, the Golden Age faded. Trade routes shifted to the coasts. The desert crept in. And to the outside world, Timbuktu transformed from a city of legendary wealth into a place of mystery, and then, finally, into a byword for nowhere at all. But here is the most remarkable part of the story. The books survived. Hidden away in homes, buried in chests, passed down through families for generations, hundreds of thousands of Timbuktu's manuscripts endured, through invasion, through colonization, through the centuries. Today, an estimated 700,000 ancient manuscripts still survive from Timbuktu and the surrounding region, covering science, medicine, mathematics, poetry, and law, some over 600 years old. They are among the most precious written records of African history in existence, living proof of a civilization the world was taught to forget. So the next time someone says, "From here to Timbuktu," remember the truth, that it was never the middle of nowhere. It was once the very center of the world's knowledge. If you want more stories, History Forgot, subscribe to Time Arc Stories. A new one drops every day.